What is going on, everyone? It has been Lone Vault Wanderer, and we are here with episode 133 of the H.A.M Radio Podcast.
What's up, everybody? This is Karak with ACG.
Yeah, unfortunately...
Technically, it's 130.5 now.
Yeah, so we tried to record before, and my computer just blew up, and my screens went blank. But we're okay. We're back. Matty is unfortunately, he's not here today. He's dealing with some other things, but it's just Karak and I, and we've got some interesting topics because this week in games, it's just been strange.
Because nothing's happened. We're done.
No, it's been like the quietest week ever.
Yeah, exactly.
But obviously, that's not been the case, and the biggest topic has been EA and Star Wars Battlefront 2 and loot boxes, and this is just me going from memory. I'm not reading from an article. But obviously it started from the beta, all right, and people were skeptical of the loot box system in the beta. Even though it wasn't actually active, people saw kind of the beginnings of it. And then I believe people started playing it early through EA Access or something like that, through the pre-orders. I can't remember because the game only pretty much just came out officially recently. And there are a lot of concerns about the advantages that you could get through the star cards, about the cost of the heroes, that it would take like a long time, let's say, to unlock some of the heroes in the game, to the stage where EA actually reduced the hero cost by 75%, pretty much across the board. And then in the past day, they've completely pulled the purchase of crystals on the game. And they say they released a statement saying, look, we're listening, we're going to bring this back at a later stage, but it needs to be right. And allegedly that came after a call with EA's CEO with the head of Disney, who apparently, I don't know, like that's just speculation, but would have said we need to change this because there was a lot of different concerns going around with Battlefront 2 and loot boxes and gambling. So what are your thoughts, Karak? There's been a lot that's happened.
And also the review event, there was also a different purchase amount at that. So technically it's changed 4 times.
Bloody hell.
Yeah. So, because there was a review event and then us who played like the deluxe version and then they dropped it. So I had heard the rumor about the change and I was talking in Maddie's Discord yesterday morning and it was supposed to actually happen even earlier. It was supposed to happen like the day prior, I think. So it feels weird that it happened the day prior to it coming out. But overall, I think that like I said in the review, I think they programmed themselves into a corner because every video you see these guys do, every video, every interview, it's complex. It's an interconnected series of programs all defining how balance works. Oh, forget it. We changed everything. That's not, anybody who works in video games will tell you that doesn't work. You have to balance. That's why companies will have 3 months of beta testing because you're balancing. So just removing stuff and magically saying your game's going to work fine. Yeah. That's a problem in and of itself. So I think that they're in a world of hurt when it comes to PR. Sales wise, I would assume it probably still sold well.
Well, sales wise, I think it sold well, but I think the revenue they could have gotten from microtransactions had the system been, not as negative in the public eye. I mean, I can't imagine how much money they're losing from this. So just
and Activision's happy as hell, right? They're like, somebody else to hate right now. Hit F to get your fucking loot box dropped in front of you.
Did you see? I think it was StarCraft's Twitter account kind of took shots at.
It did,
EA.
Yeah. Or Blizzard's,
yeah. Yeah, Blizzard. Sorry. So they kind of said that. Oh, how long does it take to get certain things in StarCraft? 0 hours. There was a series of tweets in that regard. So even other publishers and even other developers are taking shots. But I guess. What do you think about just them dropping them altogether, and how do you think they're going to be returning?
Well, I mean, they were pretty clear that they will be returning once they figure it all out. Yeah, so I think there was no recourse. The one of the issues is that reviews like Metacritic don't allow for you to update your review, so they're fucked.
Does OpenCritic allow you?
Yeah.
Okay.
So OpenCritic, I can go in and I can change my stuff, but OpenCritic isn't considered the thing like most publishers I know. OpenCritic is more for fans than it is for like a publisher. So they're screwed when it comes to reviews. I think the thing is that it's one of those times we've talked about it in the past that you can never get back that first moment of PR and the first moment of. So whatever they do from now until they announce the third one is really in a weird way a scramble to try to get as much back as they can.
You know what's crazy? I mean, something similar happened with the first one, and the first one was more that the game just didn't have enough content, and they always found it hard to get back from that. And now there's the loot box scenario, and it's probably going to be difficult for them to come back from this, if at all.
And wouldn't you think pretty much overshadowing like some of the changes that they did make, which you could consider were positive, like adding a campaign? People don't even care because they're just talking about microtransactions.
I mean, I watched your review on it, and overall, I'd say like you certainly didn't think it was a bad game, and that it had its positives and its negatives. But they added the campaign. I assume that the multiplayer is better as well than the previous one to an extent. To an extent, to an extent for sure. There's a lot in that game I wasn't a fan of that had nothing to do with microtransactions. So, but I would say, and they've got one, right? Like they've got a campaign. It's better than Battlefield 1, which is the one where like you die and it's like Frenchman died 1949 or whatever. You know, that just fucked up system. Yeah. In this one, they bounce around. The only thing I can tell you in this one though is that it's poorly written. My God, like it's that's the one thing I have to ask, and this is maybe spoilery, but does the campaign go exactly how we predicted it? Because it does, doesn't it? Yeah,
it's exactly what I was worried about.
Yeah,
and I can't remember if it was Maddie who didn't think it was, or you who didn't think. We were hoping there was a certain thing that wouldn't happen.
Yeah, and it happened, didn't it?
Yeah. I think that's
just an opportunity lost, I think.
I guess this entire game, is this not what we're going to talk about for the next 2 years? That's what's going to be said about this game. Opportunities lost, because it could have been the shit, and it'll still probably do well.
It looks phenomenal. I don't think we can deny that. And it looks like, if you're going to a Star Wars movie, this pretty much looks like the game that you'd play. And I think when it comes to Star Wars, focusing so heavily on graphics and fidelity and really utilizing that Frostbite engine, I think that's key, because you want it to look like as if you're going into a movie. And I'm pretty sure that's what Disney's intention with the games are too. But yeah, all of these other things, they... Like, what can you say? I mean, they've backpedaled because of the most downvoted Reddit post in history, because of people just constantly every day saying this is just not what we want. And there was a bunch of pictures as well. If you search for #gambling on Twitter, there was this one picture going around of people saying, Disney's promoting gambling to kids.
I did see that, yeah. Right.
So, like, all of those things combined together, it just wasn't a good look for them.
Yeah, I mean, it was a weird week because like they've changed it so many times, and then to remove them, like I'll be honest, when the person told me that they were going to remove them, this was like 9. I was all, no, it's not going to happen. There's no, like, it does that. I mean, they may reboot it, but they wouldn't remove it right away, because all these reviews. So in a weird way, that's positive, but it's sort of celebrating the the lack of gangrene by chopping off your leg kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like, it sucks. It's good that they dropped them, but the entire situation is terrible, because some people say it's a great game. They love it. That's great. Yeah. Unfortunately, there is a large contingent of people that, because of what they've tried to pull, that will not experience it on purpose. It doesn't matter how good it is now. Yeah. They just are not going to go into it because they don't want to feed into that. And that sucks for the developers too.
I will say that I've seen a lot of people that have said, I'm going to stop my boycott and actually buy the game now. And there are some people that are saying, I'm going to wait until they bring back whatever system they're going to bring back. So there are people that I'm seeing out there that are actually going to give this game a chance now because of the changes that they're making. So I guess that's a positive and somewhat of what EA wanted when they announced that.
Right. I would assume so. It's just so weird to go to zero because, dude, it's ingrained. It's so ingrained that we were doing a level breakdown with multiplayer, and you can literally tell that some star cards have been looked at to identify how to build the level. As in, like, for example, let's say there's a room, and in that room is a bad guy. And if you have a level 1 grenade card, you have to hit him or be very close. Level 2, you have to get somewhat close. Level 3, you just throw it in the room no matter what, and you hit. And I'm going to tell you right now, that's a huge boon. And developers I'm talking to are like, dude, I can walk you through each level and tell you right there that they made a star card and then they made the level, not the other way around, because you can tell how the levels are built. You know, they gray boxed them and they were like, we want this star card to work here. And that to me indicates that like the microtransactions were day one. You know, they were from the very start, which again points to the fact that I'm not quite sure just removing them is.
It's and like, then also, so you're saying they had like the monetization model in mind before they even built the game.
The monetization, yeah. As in, well, I mean, obviously, whoever was testing it was testing, and you know, and they're moving geometry, right? They're like, okay, this wall doesn't work here, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
Whatever was going on, they certainly had an idea towards those cards, and you can say that. And the fact is the way it's built, you can just tell that the monetization was there pretty much day one because of the way everything comes together. Sometimes you'll see a game like a Deus Ex urine filter. What the hell was that? Where everything looked like you were. Yeah. No, the last one.
Mankind of something. Yeah.
Was it Mankind Divided? So in that game, you can't even tell there are microtransactions unless you go to the page. It doesn't even exist in the main game. This stuff exists literally like right there. I mean, there's no separation. It's just there. And it sucks. I mean, I don't have a problem with monetization, you know, cosmetic and some other ways, but this was just way too in your face. And if people are given nods to COD and saying I'd rather play COD with its monetization,
and whoever's COD's monetization though, like from what I can see, that's still
mostly cosmetic.
Mostly, but it still can give you benefits like extra XP. But usually extra XP, I don't mind. Like if you're facing someone in COD, and even if they have an XP boost, there's still no like fundamental advantages that they have in combat, right? Like it's not like someone's gonna like maybe because they've had so much experience, they have a better gun, maybe. But typically.
Well,
guys,
yeah, that's true. You're right, but you do get add-ons for the guns that do things. I mean, that like recoil and the moment you have that the moment you have that will matter.
You get.
Those are from the things that come down. Yeah.
See, they're not just regular attachments. See, I haven't played Call of Duty in so long.
Yeah. See, I don't. Yeah. So when you're playing Call of Duty, you start with the basic guns. Then it goes from there.
So it's not like past games where I know we've changed the topic, but. It's not like past games where as you level up, you can open up new attachments for your guns that might give you a bit of an advantage, like extended mag or something like that. Those come from the microtransactions or the loot boxes. So
here's what just November 14th, Activision's announced the delay for the full microtransaction window, which has been pushed until next week. Okay. The system allows players to purchase sums of Call of Duty's World War II in-game credits, which can be exchanged for what the series calls supply drops. No one has said why the delay. I'm assuming it's because of EA. I'm just looking here to see if they've changed anything post review because I believe, I could be wrong. I believe that people were bitching about that game also changing stuff from a review event.
Okay. Interesting.
Hang on. Yeah. Okay. So right now, so that's how it goes. Because remember, I didn't review it. Same as you. I ended up playing it a little bit and moving on. Because I don't know if you remember, I was having so many bugs that I couldn't actually other than saying it's unplayable, I couldn't have done a review.
Wow.
So I didn't. So I haven't returned to it. So I would have to freshen up on that too.
Interesting.
But regardless, go ahead.
No, I was going to say. So would you say that? Well, we didn't even know what the situation, like how things are going to be in Call of Duty, but would you say that Battlefront 2 is a little bit worse than Call of Duty in terms of the microtransactions and loot boxes, or you just can't make that comparison yet?
I can't make that comparison now, but the one thing that I think, and I see people talking about them both, and we talked about them a little bit. One of the people on the other podcast does play it a little bit. I think one of the issues is that, so if you're walking around and Call of Duty says, watch another person open a loot chest, you think it's pretty stupid. Maybe you laugh at it, whatever. And then you just start opening loot chests and it's fine. And they can be various different things. And from what I remember, it's been like holy shit, I've played a lot of games. A lot of them were cosmetic, but here's what happens. Very few of them are in Battlefront. I think that's the big issue, is that there isn't a mistake. There isn't oh, well, I might get this. It's like, it was in your face. It was just like, this is definitely better.
And when people killed you, you saw their star cards.
So that was the stuff that Maddie, you and I talked about.
Yeah.
There is a kill screen in that. Yeah. And I actually waited around because you got me into that, because I never, in a Call of Duty, I never looked at that. Like, I'd just be like, and so when you guys mentioned it last, I waited, and then you see like him running around. I don't remember if you can see the cards though.
Okay.
I don't remember.
I remember someone saying that you could, but I can't confirm that.
Yeah, I'll believe them. To me, they were just killing me. So it was just and it's there. There's for sure the kill screen itself that you can watch somebody run around. Also, there was a lot of bugs, which was weird in the multiplayer. Like, there were times where it would show that somebody had killed me and they'd be in the ceiling, like upside down running, and I'd be, oh, what is happening? It was sort of anarchy. So whatever, man, they're screwed.
So how do you think they're going to respond to this then? I mean, like, what? I know that your concerns are they pretty much built this game from the ground up with these microtransactions in mind.
Yeah.
How can they adjust that to the stage where everyone's happy? Like, I don't know if they're going to do this, but my suggestion would just be, and we keep bringing up this game, but just have cosmetics, have cosmetic loot boxes. And some people still aren't going to be happy with that. And I think that's a reality. But I want to say that the main reason why people were so upset with this system was because of the pay-to-win mechanics, was because of all like the fundamental advantages that you got because of star cards. And I don't think there would have been this outrage, if it was just, oh, he just looks cool,
a shirt,
why he was killing me, a shirt. And Maddie was mentioning this before, like Star Wars with all the outfits and with all the different people, it just makes sense to have cosmetic, skins and different clothes and armor and whatnot. But they didn't really have much of that, if at all. Do they in the current system?
No, and I got a post on, so I was saying, okay, I'll continue playing this and maybe I'll re-review it. My score won't change, but somebody posted right after I posted and was like, just so you know, there's some rule that Disney doesn't allow for cosmetics. Because it changes something away from canon. And there's two problems. Okay, so first, that totally sounds right. But there's also two small problems with that. One, that in everything from novelizations to the TV shows, people have tons of different uniforms. So I would be really surprised if they couldn't figure out a way to still hit canon, because there would be a ton of uniforms. You're not going to put some fucking feathers in your hair or something weird. Like,
I think they're worried about rainbow Ewok, camos and stuff.
I don't think that kind of stuff would happen, or anything like an Ewok with feathers or something like that. But they could certainly do different stormtrooper types. I think I honestly don't think they know. And I think that's one of our biggest problems is I wonder if EA thought this was going to happen. Like, I know they knew there was an issue. They knew there was an issue enough that they changed it for the review event. But I just wonder if they had any clue. And also, I'm not 100% sure they're the ones who made the choice. If it is true that Disney called them, it was most likely Disney saying, fix it, and them just being like, okay, we'll turn them off. And here's one of the reasons why that pisses people off. There were people who had it already and bought stuff.
And there were people like, before the hero costs were reduced that had purchased them, for the full 40,000 credits or whatever it was, and then they got reduced, and pretty much they could have bought all the heroes for the money they spent on one. And I assumed in that situation that they would have got, like, I think people are going to be getting refunds for all this. I don't know, or like they'll be credited in some way once the new system comes in. So I'm sure that they'll figure that out. But it's just, look, in my opinion, I guess I understand Disney's concern with lore and stuff, but when it comes to video games, I think there needs to be a little bit less concern about that. When you're talking about multiplayer and just people shooting and having fun, I don't think they're going to see like a pink camo and people are going to have this perception that, oh, now it's canon that Star Wars has pink camouflage.
Me neither.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would love to see them just do cosmetic, get it out. The problem is even if they do cosmetic, you still have an issue with the grind level being adjusted because they weren't preparing for people to have certain things at certain times. I mean, dude, it's a mess. And I honestly believe that it's the biggest turnaround since the Xbox One online.
Yeah, you mentioned. I think you mentioned that on Twitter.
Yeah. I did. I was like, I mean, if you look at all the turnarounds companies have done, I've never, and whether you take this as good or bad, because some people take it as bad, and I totally get that, but it is the biggest turnaround that I've ever seen. Absolutely. I mean, they dumped, like you said, the amount of money that they could be making at this very second. I can tell you that there are people in EA right now who are probably working overtime to try to figure out how to get it back in to make money. Because you know that they're watching each hour go by. It's almost like demonetized videos. It's a perfect example. You make something and then you're like, okay. And then it gets removed and you're like counting down, right, until it gets remonetized.
Yeah.
So that's what they're doing in a weird way. This is their video.
It's crazy. And this confuses me a little bit and I don't see, this is the thing. I don't know the system well enough, but why wasn't it the fact that GTA had these issues? GTA
didn't start number one.
Like right now, I remember the last time that I played GTA Online, I was getting my ass handed to me because everyone had awesome weapons and a lot of money and stuff. Sure. So, but GTA never faced that public backlash like EA did. Maybe it's because it's EA.
If you go and type in GTA 5 loots, that's pretty much all you're going to see is people complaining. The problem is that one happened up front and the other one sort of like the Toad
over time, wasn't it?
And not only that, but listen to this. Go Burns, shout out to him. He's on the other podcast with me. Really nice guy. All he does is Rockstar stuff. And well, for the most part. And he was telling me that when you first started, like he was showing me this like little graph of how much a car cost then and now how much it costs. And it is redonkulous. They have basically just said Wales only. We don't care like about any, and they have cranked prices. So like he said, I can't remember what it was, but he was like, dude, now you can get like 2 cars for the price of like 20 in the old days. It's some legitimately ridiculous number.
Shit.
And he was like, when you get the expansions, it costs this much money. And then you get some shark card money as well when you buy it. And he was like, but what you can buy is barely anything. And the grind rate is incredibly slow. But again, it's not on release, which is what this is. This is, people are talking about it. GTA is more like, what would you call it? A phenomenon or something. It's just sort of always occurring.
In Australia, and I think in the US too, GTA sold better than Wolfenstein 2. Isn't that insane?
Yeah, you did. Yeah, it is. It's and because Wolfenstein 2 number 1 is really good, and GTA number 2 is really old.
Yeah.
So that's crazy.
Yeah, no, it's just amazing to me. But I was just, I wasn't sure, and maybe it was because of how they trickled it out over time that the people that are playing GTA Online now actually like that system. Like they're the whales, right? They're the people that are still playing Candy Crush or, some of those mobile games where if you spend a lot of money, Clash of Clans, whatever it is, you're the one that's kicking ass over time, and that's pretty much who they're catering to. But when it's a game that's coming out now, during the holiday season, and there are just casual fans that just want to play and have a good time, and they're kind of bombarded with this, and people that have a lot of money can have a big advantage, then that's probably where the controversy came, and where it didn't come for Rockstar.
Yeah, so, for sure.
What are your final thoughts on it then?
It just sucks. I mean, it's just right now it's so in the air that I don't even. I mean, like, it's honestly it is as big as the Xbox. It'll probably take a couple weeks for me to really sit back and go, okay,
yeah,
like what exactly is, and I can't trust. So I was pretty clear in my review that I felt that I think I said program themselves into a corner of stupid. And the reason why I said that was because they had with all these changes and all these one-liners about how complex their systems are, they had sort of got themselves in this corner that any changes they make will take a long time for anybody to even figure out if they really matter. Yeah. So it's like, yes, they're gone. They've already stated they're coming back. So it's like, what do? Do you wait until they come back to decide to buy it? You buy it now and try to get your fun out of it because the server content will be higher. There'll be more people playing. And the thing is I don't think there's a right answer because there are so many different types of gamer now. And there are people who are like, this is great news. I'm gonna reward, like you said, EA and then you see somebody right after them in a post go, what the fuck are you talking about? All they're doing is testing how far they tested and lost the test. They're just going to ratchet it back and then do it again. Like, what do you mean you're going to give them your money? So it's so up in the air.
Yeah, and mentioning Xbox as an example, how long did it take Xbox and Phil Spencer to get people's trust back? You know?
Right.
It took years. Absolutely, it took years. And even at this stage, Xbox One is still nowhere near PS4. It's one of those things where they completely bungled it up at the start, and it affected them for years to come, and it still affects them now. And it's probably going to be the same case with Battlefront 2, to the stage where I don't think they'll ever recover, to be honest.
Yeah, either do I. Not at least, I mean, to anywhere near. Because, dude, they are right now is the whale time. It's streamers.
Absolutely.
It's and none of them are doing it. Well, some are doing it, but a lot of them are not. And they're just like, I'm not going to.
Like, no one's doing the box openings and stuff like that. Yeah.
There you go. I didn't even think about that. Yeah. And the amount of money, dude. I mean, Overwatch, they still have box openings. It's fucking cosmetic. Yeah. So it's like, obviously, they could have done that here. It's the amount of money. I mean, I guess it is good, too, because it teaches them that consumers will rally around and be like, I do have to say, so there were people saying that the one guy got death threats for putting something on Reddit, for answering a question on Reddit. I think
it was the community manager that said that they're backseat developers or something like that. Was that the case?
And then something along those lines. And we built it so that you would have pride and accomplishment, which actually I do think longer unlocks. We've talked about this. I actually think longer unlocks are good. Not that long. But then somebody said, no, there were no death threats. It's all fake. And I
know what you're talking about now. So it's one developer on Twitter that for years has been saying, allegedly, that he works at EA. And Kotaku did this write-up about him that's questioning whether that person actually works at EA, and had made tweets that, I've received this many death threats and whatever. But no one can kind of corroborate whether he works there or not. Because
I was just gonna say, death threats are stupid.
Oh, absolutely,
so don't do it.
Absolutely. I mean,
regardless if it's real, because I heard a lot of people being like, "Haha, I told you." And I'm all, no, you don't understand. There's still, you're like, yes, if that's fake, then you deal with that as well. But just talking about death threats for a second, it's a fucking video game, for Christ's sakes.
Yeah.
Don't take it that serious.
No, absolutely have to agree 100%. Like, it's just
stupid,
blowing it overboard, and there can be real consequences. So just don't do that. Just be
just move the fuck on, man.
Yeah. And like, if you want to be angry in your comments, be angry. That doesn't mean you have to send death threats. Okay?
Yeah, right.
Alrighty, so I guess we can move on from that. Let's move on to Skyrim on the microwave and the VR and Switch. So obviously,
did you watch my review
of Skyrim VR or Switch?
Skyrim Switch.
I don't think I did. I think
because I made that joke too. So I just thought that's what you're. I said that. I said that we'll have a Frigidaire version soon. It was just funny.
Maybe subconsciously, I watched your video and it's just maybe that joke. I genuinely cannot remember if I watched your video, but
it's a good game, man.
It's good.
It's my favorite version of Skyrim by far.
I think the one that I watched was Digital Foundry's version of it, and they were saying that it runs pretty good. So from memory, from what they said, it is 900p when docked, and it doesn't have dynamic resolution. When it's in handheld, it drops to 720 with a dynamic. And for the most part, frame rate's usually at 30 frames per second. So obvious, and this is the case. It was the case with Doom as well. And pretty much any Skyrim port. You're never going to compare to even PS4 or Xbox One. But it's the fact that they're still not completely 1080p resolution when docked, but 900p, and it's still pretty much 30 frames per second. And for something you can take on the go, it's a pretty good result.
And you're getting it this Friday?
I can get it today, actually. I'm probably, after this podcast, I'm going to get up, go out and play it.
So the only thing I will say is that I don't mind concessions when developers say, we're going to put something on the Switch. Here are the concessions we're going to have to make. Doom, I don't feel did that. I feel that they tried to make concessions, and then they also had a shit frame rate and really terrible texture.
Yeah, so you were less on Doom, were you?
Dude, Doom on the Switch is disappointing to the unbelievable amounts to me.
Okay.
And one of the reasons why is because they did go past their concessions. To me, concessions are fine. It's a handheld 30 frames per second. It's the Xbox One version. So the PS4 will look like this, Xbox One. That's not what I have an issue with. What I have an issue with is a game like Doom requiring at least a solid FPS. For fuck's sakes, do 24, but instead, 24, 30, 29, and depending on what difficulty.
Yeah,
so when you turn it up, it goes slower, which is harder because you need faster control.
No, I remember that.
Yeah, the difference between Skyrim and that is night and day. Skyrim, dude, I'm telling you, and I mean this, and I said it in the review, I think it's my favorite version of Skyrim ever. And I have 299 mods or something on the PC. But the reason why is, and I can't wait to see Fallout or something like that on it as well, because it works, and the combat, even though it's not perfect, nowhere near as good as a lot of other games, it doesn't let you down with the control scheme.
Okay.
It doesn't feel weird when it's docked. It's one of the first titles where I can go, I don't even know how to describe it. It's almost the way you guys describe other Switch games that I've disagreed on. I've been like, meh. But now I feel that way towards Skyrim.
Sweet.
Yeah, it's phenomenal.
So for someone like me that hasn't really, like, I have put hours into Skyrim, but nothing crazy.
Right.
And I really haven't even come close to finishing that game. Playing Skyrim on the Switch, especially for someone that travels like a lot like I do, would you recommend it over PC?
Yeah. Over PC, that would depend on how
I play. Yeah.
And if you haven't got it yet, why would you just be talking about the PC version? That happens. You'll hear that a lot of times. Well, get the PC version. I'll be like, listen, if they're looking at the Switch version, there's a good chance they either have the PC version or they don't. This is the first time they've thought about getting it. But I will say this, it works. Like it fucking works to a level to where I was in that first cave and they're like, there's a bear. Do you want to shoot it or do you want to sneak by? And I was like, okay, I'll sneak by. And the audio was just right.
Beautiful.
And I was playing on the little screen. And I was like, vanilla Skyrim. It looks like it works on the system.
Well,
it's not one of the titles
too,
that does.
Isn't it?
It's what I think the term I heard was 0.5 special edition. And the reason why is it doesn't have all the special edition ads, but it does have a mod drop down. So you go to start, continue game, new game, and then there's something called mods. And so people were like, whoa, wait a minute. Is it the special edition? But then Bethesda said, no, it's not the special edition. So I don't know if they put that there to tell you that Dawn Guard is in it and all this, and maybe turn them off if you want. I mean, but why would you ever want to turn those off? So I don't know. I honestly don't know what version that is, but it does have a mod list.
Digital Foundry, they said it was special. Like, here's the thing. They said in one breath that it was special edition and then said all the things that they've downgraded from the special edition. So in that sense, it's not technically special edition. It's a downgraded special edition, which obviously, again, concessions have to be made with the Switch.
Yeah.
What I'm like, so I'm really looking forward to playing it. I'm probably going to go buy it after this podcast, and play a hell of a lot of it. What I'm really looking forward to, and this is me looking, into the future, is Nintendo being able to perfect the Switch even more and have it be even more powerful. Because, like, think about it. Every first edition of a console, Xbox 360, PS3, they all, especially this generation, they've come back with even more powerful designs. And sometimes, in some cases, even smaller. I mean, look at Xbox One X, 4K, and it's smaller than...
So weird.
The Xbox One original and also the Xbox One S, right? So smaller than both of them, and it has much, much more power. Yeah.
Yeah.
And imagine in 2 or 3 years, and I guarantee you Nintendo will release something else, another Switch, which is even more powerful, that can
Switch
handle...
1080?
Yeah, no, I think they will release a Switch that can handle... That maybe, I don't know if it has a 1080 screen, maybe it sticks with the 720p screen, but when you play it docked, you can play it in 60 frames, 1080p. And then in the handheld mode, 720, 60 frames per second. I think eventually they will come out with something like that. And then you can get your Fallout 4s and your other games onto the Switch and just have it be a real... Because it is a competitor console now, but it's in one sense it isn't, because it's still not getting the full suite of third-party games like an Xbox One or a PS4 is. But once that stage comes, I think Microsoft and Sony are going to be shaking in their boots.
Yeah, I mean, if that's if they don't do their own handhelds or some crazy shit.
I don't think they will.
I don't think so either. I don't think so. I'll say I don't think so either.
I think Sony is well and truly out of the handheld market.
You think that they're done?
I think they're done. I mean, I was a comment that I believe one of their CEOs or execs said the other month where they're like, we don't believe in the US there is a market for handheld. And I think that's still true because Nintendo has such a monopoly on the traditional handheld market with the Nintendo 3DS. And the Switch isn't a handheld. It's a home call it whatever you want, but it's a console you can play at home and take it on the go. And I think that's a much different prospect to just a completely handheld console like the 3DS. So, and unless they're going to try and do something like the Switch, I don't think they're going to have something just handheld. And I don't think they're going to try to do something like the Switch because Nintendo's just killing it, and they'll just be desperately trying to claw back market share, and I don't think that's going to be possible.
I will be blown away if by this time next year we don't have either a third party or Microsoft going with some kind of streaming device. They said that. They said that in 2 or 3 years. Yeah. Yeah, and so that would be the only competitor I would see as like a handheld where it's just a screen. It's like a Chromecast, but it's in hardware form.
Yeah.
But that's sort of getting off the point. The point being, of course, like you said, like at some point if the Switch comes out with something more powerful. But personally, and this is just me, I would much rather have them worry about being smarter because Skyrim shows that you can do it. And I think Doom could have as well if they had curbed a couple things. And I don't necessarily think that it's great that if I have a Switch, somebody's going to have a 1080 Switch. There's various reasons why. But what I saw with Skyrim, yes, it's slower. So I'm sure there's going to be people pissed and being like, it's Skyrim. It's not the same. That's true. But smart programming can do some incredible stuff. And the fact is that you have a title that barely has any real concessions other than what they were clear about and what they've shown. So you see it, you look at it, you're like, that's what I'm getting. And it's so hard to even describe how fantastic it is. And I don't think Skyrim's the best game in the world. I don't have it in a top 10. I really like it. Yeah. But when I was playing it on the Switch and I was just doing everything, it was the first time where I thought, man, I could do one of those videos where I just walk around and fucking, steal people's shoes, because it allowed me a little bit more casual. I didn't have to sit down, get the mod manager running, fucking make sure all my EXEs were all right. Everything was updated in Steam, right? It was just like, boom.
Just play.
And then Yeah, it was awesome. And I'm sure a lot of people right now are probably pretty surprised because I'm not a huge Switch fan, but holy shit.
There's going to be a lot of PC players saying like, no way, modders are always the way to go. But yeah, I think there are a good contingent of people out there that always say the first time that you play a game, they'll play it vanilla without any mods anyways. And I think a lot of people that are picking up Skyrim on the Switch are like me or others that just haven't played it at all and just want to experience the base game. And there are other people, especially PC gamers, that will mod the hell out of their game as soon as it comes out, right? Because that's just what they like to do. And again, it's different people, different needs, different wants in the community. But what about Skyrim VR? You had an interesting experience, didn't you?
for about 10 fucking minutes, I got to play Skyrim VR. Woo. And I will say, it looks a little better. So one cool thing is it looks a little better than the Switch version because, of course, it'll be downgraded graphically. And what I played, dude, like again, that could be the shit right there. The control wasn't the greatest, but it never will be.
Was it still the teleporty thing?
No. They do allow for free. Yeah. And I like that. Especially in the PS4 version, there is a little bit of a, what is that, vignette?
Yeah.
So that makes you less sick, which is great because that's a complaint you'll hear a lot of people talk about with smooth movement. And then you could, swing your sword. And what's funny is the animation in Skyrim, you push a button and the guy does a canned animation. And so I was like, how are they going to do canned animations in VR? Because if I swing like this, I want my sword to follow my hand, right? I mean, that's Vanishing Realms on Steam does that, and there's such a cool feeling, and it actually, that's what it does. So they really did go in and say, okay, we are making this as a VR version. It's not just going to be a canned, the same old, and casting spells. It was awesome. And then my PSVR broke, and that's the second one. And the company that gave me the code, I emailed them and I'm like, remove me from PSVR review. I am not buying that POS again. And I'm sorry if somebody gets upset, but when you have two of those fail and they're in different places, different things, and guess what? Did you see my post? I brought it in to get for the warranty. I brought it in. Their exact words were, Jesus Christ, another one?
Oh, no.
So I don't know if this USB thing, I looked it up and there were hundreds and hundreds of reports of it. I don't know if it's a big deal, but it was to the person that I returned the PSVR to.
Maybe they got a bad batch. I don't know.
Yeah, it's totally possible, yeah.
That's crazy.
Are you going to you don't have a PSVR?
I don't have any VR, and I have absolutely no intention to. I mean, like right now, here's the thing. My purchasing options are right now split between either I get a better PC or I get a PS4. And the problem is I don't think I'll get a PS4 because I'm doing enough gaming. Like all my spare time is gaming either on the PC where I'm streaming or on the Switch. And I don't feel like I have enough time to play on the PS4. And if I did, it would be, like all my other gaming adventures would be suffering. So I don't know. And I'm definitely not going to get VR to just confuse that even more. Yeah, it's a tough one. What do you think? Do you think I should upgrade my PC or get a PS4 Pro?
Oh, you have a PS4 now or no?
No, I have nothing. Absolutely not. Yeah.
I mean, PS4 has like Horizon, which is awesome, and a couple others. But the real issue with, and we've talked about this, the real issue with exclusives is an exclusive doesn't mean a good game or a game you like. It just means it's exclusive. So you have to look hard because there's a lot of PS4 games or Xbox games. I could be like Forza Horizon. Somebody's like, I don't like Forza. Well, guess what? Then it doesn't count for you.
Yeah.
So, I mean, probably upgrade your PC because there's just even Neo is out on Steam, which was a exclusive.
You know what the issue is? I mean, there's so many, like there are a bunch of really good exclusive PS4 games that I think I'll find it tough to not find one of those exclusives or a few of those exclusives that I won't really, really like. Like I've never played Last of Us, for instance. Horizon is being nominated for Game of the Year, and we'll get to that. And just games that I can't even think of right now. But I know there's been so many good exclusives. Like you've got God of War, and I don't know whether the newest one is going to be the greatest, but you still have all those previous ones. Like there's so many PlayStation games that I haven't played because
you have a used market where you could buy one used.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, that would be honestly, that's what I would do is see if a Black Friday, go on eBay Australia, as they're selling kangaroos. I don't know if it's different.
I need to think about that.
Yeah, and get one because I bet you people are going to be upgrading to the Pro or the Xbox X, and you'll be able to find one for $100 to $150, and that's when I would say do both. Like get the PS4 now, and you only lose $150, and just save that up longer, and then also upgrade your PC.
Yeah, I think you're right. That's a good idea, Karak.
Are you guys? Well, thank you. I don't know if you guys have GameFly, but we have Redbox, Blue Box, GameFly. There's about 100 websites in the US you can rent from. So
I think we do. But
I rent like a bitch.
They're not as popular, those services. At least I've never used them, and I don't know many people that do use them.
Right? Yeah, I would get it used, dude. I mean, that way
that's a good point.
You can, and then or borrow somebody's and see if you really want it. We just recently had a friend who borrowed mine, my PS4 normal, because I wasn't using it. And he was like, "Can I borrow it to see, like, if Horizon, is what I want to experience? Like, is it worth it?" And I think that things are so expensive now that you have to think outside the box because, fuck, dude, $400 for a console, $400 for PSVR, $400. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know.
You spent $1,000.
So easily. And that could have gone to my new PC. You know what I mean? Where I undoubtedly do most of my gaming. So, I'll have to have a think about that. But speaking of consoles, let's move on to the Xbox One X. Do you have one, Karak?
I do.
How
do
is
day
it?
one.
How is
I fucking love that. Do you know why I love it? There's two specific reasons. Three. Switching over was literally unplugging the hard drive and plugging it into the X. And the X was like, give me a second. It checked all the games, was like, okay,
Sweet.
You're ready. And
Sweet.
that was awesome. 2, loading times on everything are so much faster. It is like almost laughably fun. I mean, you're just like, are you shitting me? It's already loaded.
Yeah.
And then the fact that Microsoft has programmed in things into the hardware that don't require patches that you can see on any game. And when you see filtering, when you see filtering on like a 360 game or an Xbox game that didn't have the best filtering, and it's in there now, and you're just like, oh my God.
I saw
Filtering's a huge deal.
Someone tweeted a picture, I think it was Assassin's Creed 2. And the differences just between the 360 and Xbox One X with no additional patches, night and day. I'm thinking that's a remaster in and of itself. It's insane.
And dude, I'm telling you, like, I've never been a fan of this upgrade cycle. I was not a fan. I thought it was okay, but I wasn't a fan of the idea of PS to PS4 Pro, and I don't like splitting the market like that, which is why I was just saying Switch to Switch 1080. I don't like love the idea. But if you're going to do it like this, where you don't need to patch your PS4 games. You don't need to turn on fucking overload or whatever that thing is called inside of the system settings. And just plug it in and it works. And I think for a lot of gamers, to them, that is well worth it. I mean, I was really shocked to see Sims 4, which Sims games, I've owned them all on the console and they've never ran well, ever. And I got the Xbox version. I played it on the S and it had some frame rate hiccups and slow loading. And I put it on the X and I'm telling you, it was like a PC upgrade. I was just like, what the fuck? There was no stutters. It was perfectly smooth frame rate. While the S, and I would assume the PS4 normal, would have those stutters and those things that cause a person to just go like, really? It's not, God, it's like 30 FPS. You can't hit that. And the loading, holy shit. Like, it's weird that you don't even think about it. But when I was hitting start on Sims and I was all, okay, I can probably go get a drink and maybe piss before it'll load if I'm fast. And then on the PS or on the X, it was just like drink, and it was all and
sweet.
To me, it was awesome. Yeah, it was so sweet. It's a little surprising how quiet it is. I will say that because I'm accustomed to the PS4 Pro.
So is it louder or quieter than the PS4 Pro?
Oh, it's much quieter. The PS4 Pro sounds like a fucking hairdryer on some games, and its fan really has to work overtime. And I didn't even notice it. Maddie's mentioned it a couple times on the PS4 normal, I think, and that they're pretty loud. And I know the S was quieter, but this is dead silent. I mean, it's just like, and it's nice to just, you're watching Netflix or whatever, you don't hear like a all the time.
Now, I will say that, for the most part, I've seen all the performance reviews and stuff for the Xbox One X, and people are pretty much saying that this is a great console technically, and everything looks great. And again, as you said, even old 360 games look better on this thing, and especially games that have 4K patches. But it doesn't resolve. This is what people are saying, not me. The Xbox One X still doesn't resolve the Xbox's issue with games, and that in terms of exclusives, it's still lacking in that department. What are your thoughts on that? Because I definitely completely agree with those arguments, because you look at all the exclusives on PS4 that they have and they're still getting. It's insane. Like there's so many more. But Xbox One does have the advantage of backwards compatibility. And I think that's a big thing that maybe not many people are recognizing enough. So what do you think?
Yeah, and like OG. To finally do backwards compatibility for OG is insane. It's what I was saying about exclusives. Just cause doesn't mean they're good. Just cause doesn't mean you'll like them. And the fact is that, well, look at Nier, for instance. That's or there was another one. Maybe it was Neo. One of those two or three that released. The developer openly stated the only reason they're not doing an Xbox version is because of performance. So I would say that some of these exclusives, I mean, because a developer wants the game to look as good as it can. Yeah. And I would say that some of those exclusives that aren't Sony's exclusives, we will absolutely for sure see on the Xbox X. When it comes to those definitive exclusives that are like owned by Sony, that has been an issue since Sony came into the market. So they beat out Nintendo by purchasing fucking Final Fantasy on their, getting Final Fantasy as their exclusive. So in all honesty, I've heard this since the first day the PS1 was out.
Yeah.
So I'm like, yes, I agree. But it's not like it's magically changed. And I don't think there was a ton of exclusives on the 360. There were some good ones for a while, but Microsoft, even when they had a bunch of companies, BioWare, Bungie, and Bazaar, that was only 3 fucking titles.
Yeah.
People sort of blow it out of proportion, and they're like, they did amazing back in the day. Sorry, I like Microsoft, but they weren't doing amazing back in the day. They had more.
Okay, fair enough. Well, no, it'll be interesting.
What about you? Do you play those games? I mean, like when you sit down, do you go? Well, Neo is now on the but do you see a Horizon and go? Well, no, because you haven't even got a PS4, so you don't even see it.
But I will say this, and maybe Nintendo's a different case, but the games that I'm playing on Nintendo, I mean, Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild and Super Mario Odyssey.
Rabbids.
And Rabbids, like, to me, those are all top 5 games of the year. Absolutely. And they're all exclusive. Like, obviously, Rabbids is a third party technically, but it is a Mario product, essentially. I look at the first party games that Nintendo has, and I've always said this, and people might disagree with me, but I've always said that in terms of first party properties, Nintendo beats everyone else. I think undoubtedly that's the case. And this year with those games just absolutely shows it. And there's a bunch that I haven't even mentioned and I haven't had the time to play. So, you know, there could be, I think they said this is anyways, there's going to be a new, like, proper Pokemon game coming out on the Switch in a couple years or whenever that might be. So consider all of those games, right? So in that sense, yeah, I can understand people's arguments when they say, well, Xbox One X or Xbox in general need to up their game because compared to PS4 and especially compared to Nintendo, they're not, you know, delivering in that department. But that, and I think though that's why, because this is the problem. There's so many things to mention here. Xbox can't just turn around and say, all right, we're going to start investing in more first-party IPs because it's a 4-year minimum for each game that they start today on right now. Like, and then you sometimes have the situation with Scalebound where things are just cancelled, and we'll never know the full situation behind that. So in the meantime, they've said, all right, what can we do now? We can do 360 backwards compatibility. We can have the original Xbox One games come. We can have a better technically capable console in the Xbox One X that performs really well, that has like current third-party games that release on all consoles, look much better. Like definitively, Xbox One X games look much better than PS4 Pro, let alone any other console out there. And I think they've gone with not necessarily short wins, because it would have taken them a while to develop this console, but wins that they can have now. And then hopefully down the line, they will have those, you know, more first-party exclusives. And, you know, Phil Spencer has talked about that. He said that we need that. So I think they'll get there. But I think right now, I do understand those people arguments when they say, well, PS4 just has more better exclusives, because I think they do.
Yeah, so do I. Just think that in a weird way, they do.
Yeah.
And that's it.
It depends.
And then it's like, it depends. Yeah, because there's, for example, Nintendo. You were mentioning Nintendo and you were mentioning these games, and I'm like, okay. So a lot of people aren't fans of Mario at all.
That's true.
So there goes Mario. But I think Nintendo, funny enough, has the best IP stable and is one of probably, if not the worst, in actually doing IP work. So they have the best IPs and they very rarely do anything with them. This is the first time where I've been surprised by Nintendo ever, where I've been like, holy shit, a Zelda, a Mario, like they just hit, you know, they're like trying to actually hit and their IPs that we've always wanted. Like, I'm sorry, I don't think anybody woke up and said, man, Mario Sunshine, that sounds like a really good plan. And I don't dislike it, but do you see what I'm saying? Like in a meeting, they said, and they would most likely have said Mario 64. And that's what we got with Odyssey, very close to it.
Yeah.
So for me, I agree completely. I think Microsoft has backwards compatible and crossplay, or their cross-buy, which is huge.
Yeah, that is almost massive too.
The idea, and I've said this hundreds of times, I still think it's a glitch that you can play one copy on your PC and on your Xbox against each other. I just don't know how Microsoft thinks that it's awesome, but what a weird idea. But I think you're exactly right. They went with what they can do versus like, and you know, everybody knows that these guys spec, and Tom Kalansky, who used to run Sega, did a really good book. And he talks about how the moment you release your console, you are already designing the second one. Literally the moment the next week, you say, we need 3 people talking about next time's tech. So I think with Xbox, what they did was they did what Sony did. Let's talk about 0.5 tech instead of, a full redo. And we'll worry about that, and we'll worry about games. But I will say this, they're ballsy motherfuckers, because to cancel Scalebound still, it didn't look well, but it still blows me away. And I feel better that they canceled it. And I've said this before, because that to me shows that they take it seriously enough to cancel a game and know that all that money's gone. Literally gone. And, but I don't know if that'll turn into these first party, because an exclusive doesn't mean it's good. So if Microsoft says, here's our God of War, Rise,
Son of Rome. I was about to mention it.
I loved Rise, Son of Rome as a graphical set piece, right? But it wasn't as good as God of War. But did that help Microsoft? I would say probably not.
No.
And so it's like, just because you want exclusives, does it make more sense for a company to say, we're not going to worry as much about exclusives as we are that the third-party content looks the best? Because if there's one game a month that's exclusive, there are 500 that are not. And if those 500 that are not look better, then you have a discussion on your hands. So I think that's what's cool. They're all different. PS4 doesn't really have very good backwards compatibility. Nintendo's got issues all over with that. So Microsoft is doing it. But Microsoft doesn't have the exclusives. They have those. Sony's got one thing. Nintendo's got a portable system. To me, this is fucking probably the best we can have it. Where they're
as
all,
gamers,
where they're all sort of jockeying for us, except for EA. Well, I have no clue what they're doing.
All right, and you talked about Sims 4 on consoles. I don't know if you want to spiel about that a little bit more, but do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, I'll do a video later, but I don't know about you. Do you do sim flying games or sim racing games or farming trains?
Not really. Like racing games, maybe back in the day, but not anymore.
I just consider Sims 4 like social sim, because you put people in crazy situations and weird stories can happen. And I recorded a video, and I'm telling you, I played Sims for years, and almost every time I play it, something stupid and hilarious happens. And I have never seen what happened on my video ever happen. And it's happened. And I played a ton of Sims, and I was like, that is why I think some people like Sims, because these crazy. This shit that happens, I mean, I was laughing so hard. I was like, what the fuck is happening right now? So I think it's cool that consoles are getting those, and I think it shows strength when consoles start getting the side games.
Yeah.
When they start getting the games that aren't first-person shooters, and they're not third-person Horizon Zero Dawn. They're sim car mechanic.
Yeah.
And I like that.
All right, cool. Well, the last topic that we have are the Game Awards nominees for Game of the Year. Now, there are hundreds of Game of the Year awards, so this is nothing conclusive. This is just what Jeff Keighley does, and it's gotten a lot of attention. They get a lot of views every year, and I don't want to say that they're the definitive Game of the Year awards every year for the games industry, but they're up there at the very least. And what they have for the top 5 games of the year: The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, Super Mario Odyssey, PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, Persona 5, and Horizon Zero Dawn. What do you think about that lineup, and what would be your guess or prediction for Game of the Year? I know there's controversy with PUBG being there, and you can mention that if you want, but...
I mean, didn't the head of their CEO or their head development said they don't even think they should be on the list because they're not released yet?
So he literally, I think he was actually at PAX Australia. He said that, they don't believe that they should be on Game of the Year lists and Zelda should get it. That's what he said. And I know like there's been people debating back and forth. I don't know what the split is in terms of people that think that it should be on there versus people that think that it shouldn't be. It's an early access game. That's the only thing that it doesn't bother me. Like, I'm not upset by it. It's just it's an oddity. But I will say that it'd also be strange if PUBG wasn't on any of these awards. And do you exclude it from being on any of these awards just because it's an early access game? That's the issue that I have.
That's a good point. Yeah,
wouldn't you think it's strange that if this game that's been undoubtedly the most popular game this year, beating out every other game on Steam, including Valve-owned games, wasn't on any of these awards lists? Would that be strange?
Well, it would, but it's also strange to me that they're doing a top 10 months list and not a yearly list, because December hasn't even come yet. So
yeah.
I think this is one of the dumbest things I already had tweeted about. I literally think it's you're ignoring. I'm not saying they'll win. I'm saying that there are games that are still coming out.
They have a bit of issue with timing, and I think they have one game that it was like a Final Fantasy game that was released last year, 2016. That's on this list. So they have to kind of bear in mind games that were released in the December of the previous year.
Yeah, it's weird. But for me, I don't do game of the year like they do. I do mine more what sticks with me.
Yeah.
So, PUBG obviously is stuck with a lot of people, so I can see why it's on there, but it is not finished. It would be like Ark winning the first year it came out. The fucking game barely ran. So it's like, even if it was fun, but I guess people just choose different things. Like none of those games, Zelda for sure should be on the list, but the other games don't really make me go game of the year. But that's just me. Like Zelda does, because it's pretty obvious, right?
Yeah.
It
not,
is
not
pretty
Horizon
obvious.
Zero Dawn for you?
I don't know. Yeah, Horizon Zero Dawn technically is amazing. Gameplay wise is really good. But dude, there's some great. See, that's the thing. There's some fucking spectacular games out, like Rabbids. Would Rabbids replace Horizon? Horizon looks much better than Rabbids.
Yeah.
It looks almost scarily good. But does that mean that Rabbids can't win? And is that you see what I'm saying?
And Rabbids for me has even beaten out Super Mario Odyssey and Zelda, right? It just clicked with me, and I don't know what it was, but it really did. However, that being said, I can understand why it's not on this list. It's on, it's been nominated for some other awards, and I think that's great. But this is exactly why, Karak, that I said the other week that this is going to be the hardest year for people to pick their games of the year, because there's been so many different things. And I remember I watched Boogie. He did a video on these Game of the Year awards, and the amount of games that he went through just said, didn't play it, didn't play it, didn't play it. And I'm going through this list, even the top 5. I haven't played PUBG, I haven't played Persona 5, and I haven't played Horizon Zero Dawn. There's so many games that came out that are great this year that a lot of people haven't played. I mean, even look at best game direction, Wolfenstein 2, Resident Evil 7, Biohazard, Zelda, Odyssey, and Horizon Zero Dawn. Best narrative, Nier is on there. I haven't played Hellblade either. Tons of games I haven't played. So either way, it doesn't matter what category, unless you're a super gamer and you have all the time in the world. I don't think there's one category where, at least one category where, you haven't played a game. I think people are just going to pick their favorites because it is a popularity vote, because you can vote now. Yeah. But that's just, I think that's just the nature of Game of the Year awards. So
me too.
I'm not going to say, well, why should Persona 5 be there? Why not Rabbids? Because I haven't played it, so I can't really judge.
That is weird, because I liked Persona 5, but I don't think it should be on the list above Rabbids at all. Yeah, and it's a good game. It's a very good game. Yeah, it's just Game of the Years is so weird, because it is a popularity contest. It's also I'm going to make a list of games. If I printed out my YouTube review kind of thing, and then also looked at the couple games I've played that I haven't reviewed for whatever reason, I'm sure there would be some surprises on there. Yeah. But it sounds really weird. I'm very negative having to read a list. I'm more, if it's stuck with me, it'll pop in my head when I'm thinking about it. PUBG popularity, I just don't see how they could have not put it on there. I don't like the idea of it being on there. Too.
That's the thing.
And it's probably going to win.
And this is, I think, and some people might disagree with me, especially because I haven't played PUBG, right? But I still think, knowing what I know about PUBG, even its popularity and how much fun it is to play, I think it'd be a crime if Zelda were to lose to PUBG. I think it'd be an absolute crime.
It would be, yeah. I mean, did you get to listen to the translated game development speech where they talked about using triangles?
Oh no, yeah, I did. I saw that. Yeah,
yeah. Like there's
amazing.
Yeah, and of course, I just want to make sure people watch and don't go, why the fuck would I have to know that for Game of the Year? I wasn't saying that. I was just saying there was some next level work that went into that. Yeah. And PUBG, I think, PUBG doesn't do anything that we haven't seen before.
Yeah.
Slightly differently. Zelda, you might be able to say that, but then there's some things in Zelda, like the emergent gameplay that comes out. The difference is, though, is that PUBG, if you say Game of the Year, and if you look at movies and stuff, sometimes the one that wins is just the one that, like, the industry, it's a changer for whatever reason. And I'm assuming PUBG's on there because of that, because it is a changer. It's literally, I mean, people who've never played shooters play it. Twitch streamers Twitch it and they actually like it versus just doing it for like the views and money. I mean, you hear people just saying, fucking this. It.
Yeah.
And I had one of the guys on the podcast, Reg, he's like, he used to play it and he would come into Discord and just write stories about what him and his friend did. And you would be laughing out loud, and you would have, I had no clue what it even looked like back when he was doing these write-ups, but they were hilarious. And I was like, oh my God. So I can see it being on there, but if it did win over Zelda, I mean, I guess I would just assume that's a sign of the industry and where we are versus a sign. And
you know what the issue was? I mean, you know what won last year's Game of the Year? And I remember we were having very similar conversations. Overwatch won last year's Game of the Year. And some people, and I'll show the other nominees. God, GameSpot has a lot of pop-ups. It was Doom, Inside, Overwatch, Titanfall 2, and Uncharted 4. So with those games, I could definitely see why Overwatch won out.
Yeah,
absolutely, yeah. You know, I've played Doom, I played Titanfall 2, I haven't played the other two, but I can still see why Overwatch beat them out.
Yeah.
This time around, I think, even given PUBG's popularity, it's still an unfinished game. From what I can understand, it still has a bunch of bugs and issues and stuff. If it was in next year's Game of the Year list and it was finished and it won it, I wouldn't have a single issue with it. But when and I guess I don't necessarily have an issue with it being nominated, but still recognizing the state of the game, being in early access and with those bugs, comparing it to Zelda and saying it's Game of the Year over Zelda or even Super Mario, I think that's an absolute crime.
Yeah, I mean, man, the more we talk about it, the odder this entire thing actually gets, because the moment you mention a Zelda, I think of, okay, well, there were some frame rate issues in some places for sure.
Yeah.
The rest of the game, emergent gameplay and all this. And then when you mention PUBG, I think balls to the walls. You never know if it's going to crash, though. Yeah. You never know what the physics are going to, right? Like, so one is cultivated to a point to where, you know, they had a couple issues, but overall it's this, a lot of people think is a masterpiece. And then you get PUBG, where I don't know if anybody would ever wake up and call PUBG a masterpiece, but it's in the same, and that's sort of, like I said, it's sort of a state of the industry right now. I think in the past, it might have been more artistic story, you know, like what makes a good game. And I think, in all honesty, PUBG has passed a point to where the good game is the player.
Yep.
There is no Zelda. There is no guy going to search for anybody. It's everybody is just random themselves running around with guns. And I think that there is something pretty empowering about it. I don't know, man. I don't follow them anyway, but I will assume PUBG will win, because I also assume the Game Awards is a little skewed on the bro side of things. I could be wrong.
And again, I think I don't know whether they're kind of, like, they had this, they have a bunch of people that kind of curate these lists, and a bunch of different media organizations. So that, I think they create, like, they nominate games and then somehow they come to these top 5 lists or whatever they are. And then I don't know whether it's purely a popularity contest with people voting online, or if that's somehow balanced to what the judges thought. I don't. Oh,
I see. Right.
I don't understand how that works. But if it is purely a popularity contest, you'll know what's going to win, and it's the same reason why Overwatch won last time.
Yeah, I forgot. I don't know.
And I don't. I to be honest, when we're talking about Game of the Year, I don't think that's necessarily right. I mean, I don't think it's necessarily right that, taking movies as an example, I don't think it's right that Marvel films should be top of the year every single year just because they're probably the most popular. You know what I mean? They're great films, super fun to watch. absolutely love them myself too, and I'll watch them again and again and again. Does that make them film of the year? Probably not.
Yeah, right.
You know
Probably
what I mean? There could be some exceptions to that, but I see something very similar happening here. And when it comes to Game of the Year, I think there needs to be some sort of level of balance or curation with the judges themselves. And I don't know whether that's the case, and I wish I could find that out, but I'm not too sure.
Yeah, I don't even know how they do. Like, a lot of the stuff with the award show, that particular award show, I've never really understood how they did most of it. It always seemed a little industry inside kind of thing. So I've never really followed very much about it. But like Overwatch winning to me proves the thought process there, and what games Inside was on there, which for a lot of people would be considered a success for indie. But I could probably think of about 500 games that I could have replaced last year's with, and not felt like I was cheating anybody. Overwatch, I think, makes sense last year, but I think that also shows once again the industry. Overwatch was also the most popular, and it was the biggest. That makes more sense. A PUBG will win. There's some, you can sort of tell there's a thought process. I don't know who even votes though. I don't even know how to vote.
Here we go. Hold up. So who selects the winners? The winners in most categories are determined by the international jury, 90%, and a public fan vote, 10%, across thegameawards.com and Google search voting. In the categories of best esports player, best esports team, blah, 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 the GameAwards.com and Google search voting solely determines the winner. So I think that awards like Trending Gamer and Most Anticipated Game and stuff, they're a popularity contest. And the other ones like Game of the Year are 90% jury, 10% vote. And I think that's better. Absolutely.
That's better. Yeah.
And whatever weighting process that they use, I don't know if they make that public or transparent, but I think that's much better than, even anything less than that. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm fine with that. No, I think 90-10, actually, that works pretty well. That's actually better than I thought it was going to be. Yeah. I would be okay with that. Of course, assuming, I don't know about anybody here, but sometimes I have seen that the judges are a little questionable at times because they're industry people. And there was once or twice where I'm pretty sure, like, the people that I saw on the list, I was all, okay, I wouldn't trust that person to choose. So they've got
domestic. They got they have Funhouse on here, which I think is awesome. Engadget, Easy Allies, Giant Bomb, Glixel, GameSpot, Polygon, Time Magazine, Rooster Teeth, USA Today, things like that. And then you got international outlets. So you got Oz Gamers from Australia, you got Edge from the UK, Games Radar from the UK. So like Eurogamer, Kotaku UK, so they got a big jury, which I think is a good thing. They even have another Australian outlet here. So I think the way that these awards are done is pretty good, to be honest.
Yeah, that sounds better than I thought.
It's another. We know what it is. It's another way for advertisements to be shown, for new game trailers to be shown. I mean, let's remember that. What was it? What was the game, Karak? It was super popular game that PS4 exclusive. It was the first trailer was shown at the Game Awards back in 2015, I think.
Last Guardian?
No, it wasn't Last Guardian.
Oh, that was prior to
it was the space game. What was the space game? I'm having the biggest mind blank right now.
No Man's Sky.
That's the one. Yeah. So No Man's Sky had its first outing at these Game of the Year awards. And it became super popular because of that previous. And then we know what happened afterwards. But these awards are a way to show new games, trailers, and advertisements. That ultimately, that's the purpose of these awards.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that is, and that's sort of the same people they're talking to too when they ask to vote. So people who would watch these things, which is fine. Like I'm, it's just not for. They haven't been for me until this point. Yeah. I would put in my vote though for not PUBG. Yeah. That's just me.
So but who do you if now knowing how the voting is done, 90%, 10%, who do you think out of those top 5 would actually win Game of the Year? What's your prediction?
You mean of those?
Of
who
those
do I think will win?
that are there. So do you want me to?
Zelda most likely, because if it's 90, I'm just saying, if it's 90% and those are the people, I know for a fact many of the people on those lists are not huge fans of PUBG or do not feel PUBG is a finished title.
Fair enough.
And have stated so even on, Twitter as of 2 or 3 months ago.
Yeah.
So unless they suddenly change their opinion, I would assume you have a much higher chance now of seeing Zelda. Horizon, because of Frozen Lands, there's a possibility, but there's a big issue with how you review and what you talk, how you talk about Horizon right now. Because if you talk about Horizon, are you talking about it without the expansion? Because if you are, then that does change it, because the expansion does add a tremendous, not a tremendous amount, but a good amount of content and some really cool story like beats. So that to me would also be interesting. Like,
I would think that you would exclude expansions, right?
Since it mins into the world, how do you do that?
That's a good point.
Because that game, or Frozen Wilds, is the one where it becomes once you install it, it's now just Horizon Zero Dawn. It's still called Frozen Lands, but you can go. It's just in the middle of the game. It's not end game. It's not go to a different place like Skyrim. It's the thing.
Do you think that's enough to out Zelda, to beat Zelda?
No, normally. But if you're talking about those individuals, then we're also there's probably the chance that a lot of them, it's possible that some of them, well, I was going to say some of them don't have a Switch, because it's only until recently that it's just, like exploded. But Zelda would have been out by then.
Yeah.
So, because it was out right at the starting. Or did it have, do you remember how long Zelda took to release after Switch started selling?
It was right there.
Very
launch.
Close, right?
Yeah, no, it was literally the same day.
I guess I would say Zelda then, because I'm just thinking back on the reviews those guys gave Zelda.
Yeah.
And they were pretty high to where I found them a little questionable myself. You just because they're, like 11 out of 10, and you're all, come on. So yeah, I would say Zelda, and then Horizon has a chance. What was that? What else was on there?
So it was Zelda, Super Mario Odyssey, PUBG, Persona 5, and Horizon.
Nintendo will sweep that.
Yeah, I think, in my opinion, Zelda will win. It wouldn't be my personal game of the year just because of Rabbids, and I've talked about that. If we were going to give it a second, here's the problem: I haven't played PUBG, Persona 5, or Horizon. Right? I think, at least from what I've read, that I could easily see Horizon beating out Super Mario. It's just, look, I loved, I've put over 50 hours into Super Mario. I love the game. It was a joy to play. But when you're talking about a brand new IP that sweeps everyone off their feet, and just, it got so much positive coverage. Yeah. I think a game like that absolutely deserves to be above Super Mario Odyssey. Although I will say that, I looked at because I was just curious. I looked at previous gameplay of games like Super Mario Galaxy that I haven't played. I played Super Mario Sunshine. And looking at the differences between Galaxy 1 and 2 and Super Mario Odyssey, there is a massive difference. Like, Super Mario Odyssey undoubtedly is like the true sequel to 64 that we've never had. So in that sense, it really did innovate and change. But yeah, I just wouldn't know. But I think it could be neck and neck between Horizon Zero Dawn and Super Mario Odyssey. And I still think that even if you compare a game like Persona 5 to PUBG, because Persona 5 is a finished game, that I think it deserves to beat out PUBG. So I'm not saying that PUBG doesn't deserve to be on that list, but when you're comparing it to games that are complete and finished and offer a complete product, like, disregarding the fact that it's just multiplayer, I think that's not the point. Because I had no issue with Overwatch winning, but it's more of the state of the game. So yeah,
I would agree.
But I will say overall Zelda.
Yeah. I'll just continually be upset Rabbids isn't on there.
Rabbids is on best strategy and best family game. At least it has something. I think it should win best strategy game. But again, I haven't played XCOM or anything.
What else is on there? XCOM Chosen?
XCOM 2 Tooth and Tail? Total War.
Oh my god. No way. Tooth and Tail is it Tooth and Tail 2? Yeah, that's on there?
Yeah, by Pocket Watch Games.
Good for them. Dude, have you played that?
No, I haven't.
It's the console RTS with like a Watership Down with like the rats or the mice as the main character in World War II kind of mixture. Fuck. All right. That's awesome. So that's on there.
So you got XCOM 2, that, Total War Warhammer 2, Halo Wars 2, and Mario and Rabbids. You don't think this should be there?
Halo Wars 2. Fuck no. That's weird. No, Halo Wars 2 was a fucking technical disaster. Well, they're probably reviewing it. They're probably saying what its state is right now. But when that game released, man, the bug videos, it was crazy. It had so many problems. And no, I wouldn't consider its strategy. Yeah. Because this is the strategy when you're reading. I wouldn't consider it anywhere near, like not even in the same stratosphere as the other games.
Okay, interesting.
That is hilarious. Like I don't think I've ever thought anybody would think that Halo Wars 2 would be on any of those lists. What the fuck? But Tooth and Tail, that's good. And XCOM. You haven't played XCOM? No. Dude, you got a PC, man. What are you doing?
I know. And I know that, here's the weird thing. After I played Mario and Rabbids, I'm just like, holy shit, I'm really into top-down isometric games. Because that's what it is. It's a top-down isometric. You know the first game that I thought that I should play after Rabbids was Wasteland 2. Because I tried to give that a go back in the day. I put about 15 hours or something into it, and I stopped. And I think I'd have such a better appreciation of that game because I've played Rabbids. So I think the same would be the case for XCOM because it was such a huge influence on Rabbids. So yeah, and I've just been scrolling through some of these other games. I mean, there's so many awards, and the only issue that I have with it, I don't know if you call it an issue, but I remember the last time I watched it, you have some awards that are kind of given during ad breaks, or like during like the main stage awards and performances and stuff. So they're like, it's just Jeff Keighley standing off to the side and like, and now we have best blah 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 goes to this person, and they're just like an offside thing. So I
best robot protagonist.
No, but like it had. I'm not going to read the games because that would be here forever, right? So, but I want to read the awards. So you have Game of the Year, Best Game Direction, Best Narrative, Best Art Direction, Best Score or Music, Best Audio Design. I think that could be collapsed into one category, in my opinion. Best Performance, I like that. Games for Impact, Best Ongoing Game, Best Mobile Game, Best Handheld Game. I think those could be collapsed too. Best VR or AR Game. You got Best Action and then Best Action Adventure. I think those could be collapsed because Prey is on Best Action Game. And I know you liked Prey, but I don't know if it should be up there, in my opinion. Best role-playing game, I like that. Best fighting game, best family game, best strategy game, best sports or racing game. I think that's good that they collapse that. Best multiplayer. I think best multiplayer could be same as best ongoing. Most anticipated game. Don't know. Best indie game. Best student game. I really like that. Trending gamer, they've had that every year. Best esports game, best esports player, best esports team, best debut indie game, best Chinese game, and that's it. Yeah.
Are you teasing me? Best Chinese game?
No, it is literally best Chinese game there.
What the fuck does that mean?
I don't know. And
that sounds racist as hell.
I haven't.
Best Chinese game. What? What?
Is it because that China is so hard to release games in that they kind of have their own specific dedicated market? I don't know. I don't like. I don't know, either.
Dude. Now you've got me. Now that is hilarious. I'm gonna do my own list. I'm gonna best game from South Africa. Best fucking I've never even heard of best Chinese game. Halo Wars 2 most likely.
Yeah, I don't think that award should be there. I think a few others of them should be collapsed into like two different categories. Best debut indie game. I don't even know what that means because best indie game was already there.
Yeah, so exactly. Debut. A lot of indie people go that doesn't make any sense at all. That would be like saying, yeah, that doesn't make sense. I don't think that should be a debut indie game. And also, if I remember right, I think it was TB posted this morning and said that there was something very wrong with the contestants or the list of games in strategy, I think.
Yeah.
he said something. He said, because I'm pretty sure it was that but one of them, he's like, whatever their award was, it couldn't technically win. Because, I can't remember what he said. It was this morning though.
Do you want me to get his Twitter?
No, I'm looking at it right now. It doesn't matter. I won't slow anything up. But he said something that was enough for me to go, oh, that is odd that it's on the list. And it was one of those titles. Oh, you know what? It might have been a Final Fantasy where you said it was last year or something.
Boogie said the exact same thing. But that's obviously because it's the timing of these awards.
I understand.
And I'm sure Jeff Keighley has his reasons for the timing being now, as opposed to being in January of next year.
Right.
There must be some sort of reason behind that. I don't necessarily have an issue with it, but there is a risk that, let's say, put it this way, let's say Zelda came out next month. I think that would be a concern because that it wouldn't be on the 2017 Game of the Year list, and everyone would have to remember it for next year, and that might affect its performance in terms of winning an award. So yeah, but anyways, it should be interesting, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'll look at the lists after they've chosen whomever. I'm sure I won't agree with, and not because they're wrong. I'm just saying a lot of the games that are on there, I wouldn't even. Tooth and Tail, though, that gives me a little bit of I don't know what the term, confidence in their choices, though, because I'm going to tell you right now, I'm blown away that's on there.
That's cool.
Yeah, if you haven't got a chance, at least look at like the way it's played. And Austin Wintory did the music, and dude, I'm telling you, it's a console RTS that pretty much works. It was pretty crazy.
All right.
Because we've
come to the end of this H.A.M Radio podcast. Karak, thank you so much for joining. I have
this no problem.
I don't know why I have this worry. Not that just didn't record properly. I think the start of it might have stuffed up because it was like encoding overload on OBS. So we'll see how that goes.
Oh, right.
But I think the rest of it is fine. But I might have to record something extra if we did stuff up. But thank you, Karak, again. Thank you, everyone, for joining. Hopefully, Maddie can be back next week. I unfortunately can't be here next week because I'll be at a funeral. So everyone needs to know that now.
Sorry about that.
That's all right. But we'll see you next time. Thank you so much.
Wait a minute. Real quick. Hashtag.
Ooh, Tooth and Tail. Let's get that out
there. There we go. There we go. Get it out there.
Tail. All righty.
Indeed.
Thanks,
all right.
everyone.
See you, man.